the original Naruto story, we see Naruto completely fail at being a ninja, seemingly having zero talent and being the lovable underdog that goes from zero to hero. Which is why today I ask, what would happen if Naruto was never an underdog? What would change in the Naruto story? Does Naruto still defeat the likes of Haku, Orochimaru, or Pain? Does he still become Hokage? And most importantly, does he still kiss Sasuke? Well, find all that out in today's What If Naruto Was Tobirama's Grandson. We start the story off in the perspective of Naruto, the day of his birth, right? He'll be watching as everything's going down. Nine Tails will be going crazy. He'll unfortunately have to witness the death of his mother Minato and Kushina, and with that, nothing changes. The one thing that will be changing in this story, however, is who Naruto's great-grandfather is going to be. Because I can't exactly just say that his grandpa is Tobirama. It just doesn't work. The generations don't exactly line up. Great-great-grandpa, however, does work perfectly, and under the assumption that we simply make a slight change to Dan's father, which we're going to be changing to Tobirama, it's a very quick fix. Obviously, we don't exactly know who Minato's father is, so I could have inserted Tobirama there, but it just doesn't make too much sense to me. So instead, I'm going to be changing his father's father, meaning Tobirama, and because of that, Naruto's going to be born with the same hair as Naruto. Not only is Naruto going to be part of the Senju lineage, meaning part of Hashirama, but part of his younger brother Tobirama and Minato. So Naruto's straight up going to be a descendant of Minato, Hashirama, and Tobirama. So 3 Hokage generations, and that's just absolutely insane. But that's exactly how this video is going to work off. However, Naruto is going to be having the iconic blue eyes that Minato has. So there's no question in Minato's mind whether Naruto is his son or not. There's no like, oh yo, did Kushina did she just betray me? Because Naruto would be born with white hair. None of that ends up taking place. And instead, Naruto in this timeline, after his father Minato ends up stealing the 9 Tails within him and he grows up in the village with Hiruzen, a couple of things are going to be changing. And one of those is going to be that Hiruzen actually likes Naruto a whole lot more. Now you guys might be like, what? Why? Well, let me explain. Naruto in this timeline looks a lot, and when I say a lot, he looks a lot like Tobirama. His sensei who straight up sacrificed himself for him to live, his sensei who taught him countless jutsus, and the person who practically trained him to become the 3rd Hokage. He's seen the spitting image of him, the son of Minato, and not to mention he's a little scared of what Kushina is going to say in the next life if he's a little bit mean to him, you know what I mean? So yeah, Hiruzen's going to be taking very decent care of Naruto, not exactly treating him as much like garbage in the original, being a lot nicer to him, right? Because of that, Hiruzen is going to actually be helping Naruto train a bit. And the reason for that is because Naruto growing up, when he gets to the age of 4 years old and eventually actually ends up being given his own place to stay at, Naruto, feeling the pressure and all the hatred of all these villagers, is going to decide that he's not just going to sit here and take it. He's going to do something about it. And he decides that if he's not going to be just given respect and he's not going to be treated nicely, he's eventually going to do something to change that. And so he ends up developing a goal of becoming Hokage to command respect. He doesn't want to earn it, he's going to command it like Hiruzen does. And so he would end up asking Hiruzen to train him. So when Naruto would be small, Hiruzen would eventually take him outside to training grounds where he would say, alright, well, to get started, first we have to find out what your chakra nature even is, but you probably don't even know how to channel your chakra through your body, so I'm gonna have to teach you, but before that I just want to see something. So he would hand Naruto a little piece of paper which Naruto would obviously channel his chakra through, and when this happens, Naruto would absolutely stun Hiruzen, because Naruto doesn't sit there and hold the chakra thing and like nothing happens, but Naruto immediately begins to wet the paper, and it would be revealed that Naruto has an incredible water affinity. Plus, Naruto's control of his chakra is absolutely insane, and it would be way better if Kurama wasn't actually tampering with Naruto's chakra control, making it that much more impressive. So because of this, Naruto actually grows up doing exactly what the original Naruto wanted to do all along. Because we know that Naruto in the original had the goal of becoming Hokage, but the one thing that stood in his way was very, very simple. And that's the fact that Naruto was a bit of a dummy when it comes to chakra control. He wasn't that good at taijutsu. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the smartest, and he wasn't the fastest. So Naruto had a very hard time. And when it comes to being behind everybody else, that was just what Naruto was used to. But this time around, Naruto actually realizes that he has potential, he has some sort of skills, and he's actually able to succeed in the things that he tries doing. Naruto would be even more of a bona fide genius than the one that we get in the original, and so because of this, Naruto grows very powerful, very quickly. And because of this would actually end up affecting Naruto's standing in the academy, because being powerful in the academy actually does mean a lot. Plus, Naruto in this timeline is not exactly going to be being annoying like he is in the original, meaning that he's not going to bother people and he's not going to be seeking attention unnecessarily. Obviously, he would like to be noticed, he would like to be seen, but Naruto's so hyper focused on his goal and it seems so attainable, especially by the things that Hiruzen tells him, how impressed he is by him. And with Hiruzen even at one point making a comment like, "I'll keep this seat warm for you until you can take it up." Naruto is so convinced that he can become Hokage that that's all he is hyper focused on, and that would be his greatest weakness and his greatest strength. Because of this, Naruto would, like I said, be slightly popular in the academy because his strength was undeniable, and even some girls would like Naruto because of his general looks. So Naruto would grow up in the academy with Sasuke and Naruto actually being rivals to each other before they would even fight. Naruto didn't like the fact that Sasuke was popular without doing a thing, and Sasuke didn't like the fact that Sasuke seemed to be getting closer and closer to him in terms of popularity, which means that all their years during the academy they would both have this weird grudge inside of themselves. Plus, there was also this slight burning hatred for each other for some reason. They couldn't exactly put a finger on it, maybe it was how they looked or their last names, but Naruto just did not really like Sasuke. And so, eventually a day would come in which Naruto and Sasuke would finally fight in the academy. And on this particular day, it would be made painfully clear that Naruto is way above what he should be in the academy. Because at this point, Naruto learned water jutsus before Sasuke had even learned fire jutsus. And so, he would beat Sasuke with a water style jutsu, completely destroying him and embarrassing him in front of the class, with cheers erupting saying that Naruto's the new strongest, with Naruto thinking to himself that he's not the new strongest, he's been the strongest. And so Sasuke, like you would imagine, would end up going to his father telling him what happened, and with Fugaku realizing that Sasuke lost a fight and there's a kid who can already perform jutsus, would decide to teach Sasuke the fire style jutsu. And so, after Sasuke would train incredibly hard over the next couple of months, Sasuke would end up growing a lot stronger and would end up becoming a sort of rival to Naruto, where he can now become a perfect counter to Naruto. It's fire and water. Obviously, water beats fire most of the time, but Sasuke is just that much of a genius and would be able to keep up. As eventually they would end up growing up and their rivalry would expand more and more. Eventually the time would come when Sasuke would lose his family, and that would just completely leave Sasuke a different person, not really focusing on Naruto, and Naruto would eventually end up pulling ahead. Eventually the day would come when they're pinned on the academy as the same team. And you guys might be thinking, okay, so now they're on the same team, but what happens to the Mizuki situation? Well, let me explain. The reason the Mizuki stuff ended up happening is because Naruto failed, and him failing led to Mizuki picking him as somebody who could actually steal the scroll. But unfortunately, nobody in the academy would even be equipped for something like that. Because if you read the first chapter of the Naruto manga, the only reason Naruto was able to even take the scroll is because of the fact that he was armed with a sexy jutsu, something that was comedically able to take out Hiruzen, and so he was able to steal it, and we get the whole Iruka situation and stuff. But this time around, Naruto not only passes, but another student goes and would not have the same results. Because of this, Mizuki would be taken behind bars, and he would be tortured by Ibiki, who would definitely do his job. After this, we would end up having a really funny scene in which they end up having the introductions, but Naruto this time doesn't exactly pull his prank. Instead, what we would actually end up getting is just a scene in which Sasuke would end up going last, right? But Naruto would go first with his goal, and he would say that his goal is to become the Hokage, and to put somebody in particular in their place, as he would look at Sasuke with a smile on his face, and Sasuke, when he tells his goal, would be like, my goal is to kill a certain someone, and I also would like to shut someone up, as he stares daggers at Naruto, fire and like fire and water, like auras would be shooting off of them as both of them look at each other with like contempt and anger and like rivalry and stuff like that, and their fiery auras would go crazy. Kakashi, realizing their rivals, would think to himself that this is probably going to pose a threat during the bell test, but eventually we would end up getting the day of the bell test come around, and like you would expect, both of these ninjas would end up getting in their ways in such a horrible way. Them both being rivals would have ended up leading to both of them getting in each other's ways, performing jutsus when it was completely inadequate time, and just straight up ruining each other's timing. Naruto rushed in first, and Sasuke, not wanting to fall behind, rushed in as well, which led to both of them getting tagged. Eventually, both of them wanting to show that they were better than each other would use their strongest jutsus, which would easily get countered because they weren't in the right state of mind, and plus Kakashi probably would have done it anyways. And then Kakashi was able to easily tie the both of them to posts, with Sakura being the only one who was not tied up by the end of it, and her being the only one with the meal. But this time around, because of the fact that not only does Sasuke have the scene where he hears Naruto's stomach grumble, he would have a smirk on his face saying, "Sakura, feed him too, we need the dope strength. He might not be as weak as, I was thinking." Naruto would look at him and say, "Whatever." And Sakura would start blushing, and she's like, "Well, if Sasuke says it's okay, I guess I could feed him." As, she has a little bit of a thing for Naruto, but not that much. She just thinks he's sort of cute, right? Anyways, regardless of this, Kakashi would end up revealing the truth of this exam and questioning the both of them on whether they can really show teamwork, saying that if they can display even an ounce of teamwork, they'll pass. But if not, they'll be sent back to the academy. And so Naruto and Sasuke stare at each other as they both realize that they need to prove themselves and work together. So they would end up going after Kakashi together, but this time using tag team combinations and using each other's strengths to their own advantages. They would both work extremely well together, despite the fact that they'd both be very adamant about admitting it, and eventually they would end up forming Team 7. After this, they would be put on maybe like a week worth of D-rank missions, and after this, I could definitely see Naruto speaking up to Hiruzen about this, but just not in the same manner that he would in the original. See, normally Naruto would look at him and start being a goofball about it, but this time, he would just lay the facts, say that he's way more powerful for something than a D-rank mission, and if they were placed on it, himself and Sasuke with Kakashi themselves could probably take on a B-rank mission at this point. Kakashi, thinking about it a bit and realizing that, that's probably true, with Hiruzen saying that he knows Naruto's talent, and so he would end up telling him that he's going to be putting him on a C-rank mission to protect Tsunade, the bridge builder, in the land of the waves. And so, Naruto would get extremely excited, thinking to himself that not only is he finally going to be getting a C-rank mission, but it's going to be in his own element. Water's going to be all over that place, for crying out loud. And so, Tsunade would enter the room making fun of everybody except that wouldn't be the case. I don't know what I was thinking. Tsunade definitely wouldn't make fun of Naruto because Naruto just has this aura to him. He didn't make fun of Sasuke in the original because he looked like a competent ninja, and Kakashi, well, that's Kakashi. So he would basically just make fun of them, saying that they're kids, and point out Sakura, saying that she looks like a weakling, right? That he can't put his life in his life under the care of a girl, right? As Hiruzen would just be like, "This is all we got, Tsunade. You can take it or leave it at this point." And Tsunade would say, "Fine." As they would meet up at the bridge the very next day, and eventually they would end up making their way to the land of the waves, where pretty soon, once they get started on their journey, I like to say about an hour in, they would end up encountering a puddle in the middle of summer, which immediately throws everyone off except for Sakura, who doesn't even realize what's going on. And so, the second the demon brothers lunge out and would go out to attack Kakashi, Naruto and Sasuke would both be ready, showing off as they would end up both going after one demon brother individually and taking them out very swiftly in a very cool looking panel if it was to be, put in a manga, as, Sakura looking at this would just be blushing, being like, "I can't believe I got so lucky. The two strongest and most, handsome boys in the class," she would say. That's kind of awkward to say, but yeah, she would be thinking along the lines of that if we know Sakura, which, we do. And after saying that, she would just end up walking behind them, thinking to herself that she's so lucky, not even realizing the uselessness of her even being there at this point. As eventually, we would end up getting Tsunade, who would end up walking forward a little bit more, only to then hear the sound of a blade whooshing through the air, as Kakashi, realizing this, would say, "Everybody duck down." Naruto, not even thinking twice about this, would do so, and eventually a gigantic sword would be sent flying into a tree as Zabuza Momoichi would be standing there. And so, Kakashi versus Zabuza's fight would take place immediately, with Naruto watching and making sure that he watches every single thing that Zabuza's doing. As while Naruto would be watching this fight, he would be learning, and he would learn a bunch of Zabuza's jutsus, eventually leading to the water prison jutsu, which Naruto would take quick note of, as Naruto decides that he's going to be helping immediately, since water is his specialty. So Naruto rushes in, beginning to run on the water, as Sasuke says, "Don't get cocky," and begins to rush on the water as well, revealing that both of them, not only one of them, can actually run on the water, with Sasuke saying not to think he got too ahead of him, as from here Sasuke says, "Don't get cocky, I'll get the next fight, you hear me?" With Sasuke realizing that Naruto's probably going to be the best one in the water, but just wanted to show off that he's not the only one that can run on water. And so Naruto would smile, saying, "Sure thing, Sasuke," jumping up in the air, as he would then slam his hand on the water, and the water would then begin making these crazy waves, with Naruto using the strange jutsu he would have developed himself to make the water be completely unstable. Zabuza would begin having a hard time holding his ground and maintaining the water jutsu, and so he would end up creating five water clones, which would rush in at Naruto, with Naruto saying easy, creating 10 of them, doubling his output, as they would rush at the clones, and they would end up taking out 4 of them, as eventually the last one would stand, and Naruto rushes at that one, weaving the hand signs for a jutsu that Zabuza himself had just used, and defeating that clone with that jutsu, before Naruto would get closer and closer and closer, and Zabuza, not exactly knowing how to react to this, would have to let go of Kakashi, which would lead to Zabuza being able to dodge the kid's blow, and ultimately Kakashi would stand up, sending an attack at Zabuza, which would end up connecting, and both of them would end up getting back into the fight, which would lead to each of them going crazy, but ultimately them whipping out the water dragon jutsus, the water vortex jutsus, and Naruto quickly taking note of these high skill jutsus. He would end up mastering each and every single one of them, which you guys might be like, yo, Xehther, relax there, buddy. But bro, this kid is like the father of ninjutsu almost, because like Tobirama created so many jutsus. Naruto is his grandson after all, and he takes up a lot after him. Plus, he's the son of Minato, for crying out loud. A genius who was able to even go beyond the abilities of Tobirama when it comes to the flying Raijin. He had a little bit of help from Hiruzen, and the show is named after him. So I think we could give Naruto a pass here, as eventually Zabuza would be taken out, and after this would happen, Naruto would end up realizing that Zabuza was very, very powerful. Haku would end up arrive, taking Zabuza away, and after this would happen, Naruto would end up realizing one thing, that Zabuza was extremely powerful, but he used one thing that Naruto took extreme note of: a sword. With Naruto realizing that, hey, maybe implementing a sword to his fighting style might be a little useful. So Naruto would ask Kakashi about that, and Kakashi would begin telling him that he used to use a sword when he would fight all the time in his Anbu days, reminiscing about them, and then looking at his hands as he could see the blood stain on there. But Kakashi would shake his head, not thinking about it, and Naruto would ask him where he can get one of those when he returns to the village, with Kakashi giving him the name of a swordsmith who's very, very talented at his craft. And so Naruto takes that into account, and so for now, Naruto would just decide that he's gonna become a master at using a sword, just like Zabuza, maybe even surpassing the likes of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. And so Naruto, with this in mind, would now be getting one step closer to his great grandfather's arsenal of power. And not only that, but eventually he'll use a very, very interesting move, to put it lightly, right? After this, they would end up pretty much learning tree walking, and by they, I just mean Sakura. Sakura would be caught up to speed in terms of tree walking and water walking, and after this would end up happening, Naruto would end up finding himself on the bridge the day the battle would arrive, with one major change happening. Haku never ends up meeting Naruto in the forest, which means that Haku has no real empathy towards him, so the battle would be kind of a crazy one, and eventually we would get a battle between Naruto and and Sasuke versus Haku, in which both of them end up doing very well, but ultimately Sasuke would yell at Naruto telling him to get out of the way, and Sasuke would go full throttle at Haku, eventually realizing that he's not strong enough and getting caught in the ice mirror jutsu. Sasuke would eventually begin getting hit by multiple senbon, and Naruto would do his best to break the ice mirrors from the outside, but it wouldn't work. So Naruto, realizing that Sasuke was taking more and more damage by the second, would end up jumping in recklessly, with both of them starting to get injured, as eventually, after all this would end up happening, Naruto would realize that there's only one real thing he can do, that water prison jutsu. If Haku was to jump in out of the mirrors and then hit water, his movement should be slowed significantly, and with the fact that Naruto has been training in rivers and lakes and using water jutsus his whole life, he is extremely quick and nimble in water. Plus, it's his domain. So Naruto immediately just tells Sasuke to form a cover for him, as Sasuke would do so, and eventually after forming a couple of hand signs, Naruto slams his hand on the ground, as it would appear as Naruto would have summoned water, as water from both sides of the bridge would shoot towards the direction of the inside of the mirror and create this dome of water which would surround not only the ice crystal mirror, but a little bit more than that, with Naruto saying that he has to hold his concentration for this jutsu to work. And Haku, the second he would jump from another mirror to another, Naruto would be right there to land a blow straight to the face of Haku, which would shatter the mask, with Sasuke jumping in as fast as he possibly could, but wouldn't be fast enough to hit Haku in the water, and Naruto would land blow after blow after blow after blow in the water, using a kunai, which would eventually take Haku down slowly by the second, which would eventually lead to Haku falling onto the ground, practically being defeated and motionless, with Naruto standing over him and Sasuke staring at Naruto from behind him, wondering just how far ahead Naruto is, with him gritting his teeth and thinking to himself that he needs to get stronger. As Naruto would just stare at Haku, he would turn to Sasuke and ask if he's okay, but in that split moment, you could hear the sound of 1,000 birds coming from close by, as Kakashi would land a Chidori, but it wouldn't land on Zabuza, but on Haku. This would lead to the events of the bridge happening just like they do in the original, with Gato being I was gonna say devoured, but more like defeated by Zabuza, who would end up revealing his true nature, and eventually we would have Team 7 return to the village, where they would eventually be informed of the Chunin exams. After this, they would be given about approximately 1 week to train, and during that 1 week that they would have to train, Naruto would end up developing that jutsu that he would have used against Haku and making it a lot larger, with him also practicing those water jutsu Zabuza used, especially the mist jutsu, and definitely purchasing a sword which he would implement into his fighting style, just like Tobirama would. And so, Naruto and the team would end up making their way to the Chunin exams, where they would eventually encounter Lee, Neji, and Tenten, eventually leading to Sasuke versus Lee, which would eventually lead to him being defeated utterly and completely, which would lead to Naruto being like, dude, this dude is so strong. Oh, by the way, can somebody tell me how many times I said leading to right now? It was absurd. But besides that, okay. They eventually end up taking the test, and this would eventually lead them to the Forest of Death, where, you know, all those dumb tangents aside, they eventually run into Lord Orochimaru. Immediately upon arriving, Orochimaru would make one thing clear. He was different than any other opponent that Naruto, Sasuke, and even Sakura had faced before. Sure, they felt bloodlust before. I mean, just look at Zabuza, but this was a completely different ballpark. This was different, and Naruto could tell this guy was at the bare minimum comparable to that of Hiruzen, an aura that he's felt before, but this felt different. He felt genuine malice coming from him, intent to kill, to destroy, and Naruto and Sasuke would both be frozen up, as Naruto would think to himself that he's felt an aura like this before, Hiruzen, and sure, this guy might be out to actually kill him, but that's what all that training's been about. Naruto would grip onto his sword. As he begins to grip it so unbelievably hard, it begins to hurt, and Naruto, focusing on that pain, would realize that if he thinks about something else, pain, he could break out. Naruto would come up with the same solution that Sasuke would in the original, and so would slash himself in the leg just enough to create a wound that would bother him, as Naruto would say, "I'm not afraid of you," rushing in towards Orochimaru, as he would go in a slash at him and he would cut him in half. That is, until it would be revealed that it was nothing but a block of wood. This would shock Naruto and Sasuke, as he would think to himself that he didn't even see him substitute. From here, Sasuke, watching as this battle was going down, he would go on to use his kunai and stab himself in the leg as well, as he jumps into the fight saying, "Don't get ahead of yourself, Naruto, you're not the only one who can face down this freak." As from here, the both of them would begin to lunge at Orochimaru, doing their absolute best to keep up with him in any way, shape, or form. But unfortunately, the two of them just weren't powerful enough, and Orochimaru, while holding back considerably, was able to actually hold the two of them back very, very easily. At this point, Naruto would begin getting angrier and angrier and trying to be more animalistic with his attacks. Being more reckless is the better word, actually. Eventually, Sasuke would shoot a fire style jutsu, Naruto's attack would get in the way of that, and they would begin clashing together, leading to a little bit of bickering going on as Orochimaru watches this whole thing. But then they turn back to him only to see him straight up licking his lips and saying, "Good, good, show me more." And from here, both Naruto and Sasuke would get shivers, akin to what Gon and Killua would go through when they teamed up with Hisoka for that one period of time. You know, when like he was staring at them and they were like terrified? Yeah, that's exactly the looks that both of them have on their face. Suddenly, Naruto, grabbing his sword once more, rushes back in towards Orochimaru. And Orochimaru, having a considerable gap between them, would go to grab the blade of Kusanagi, as he would rush towards the direction of Naruto and begin to use his his kenjutsu skills, which is basically just another way of saying swordsman skills, right? And it was right after doing that, Orochimaru rushes in and would show Naruto the difference between an experienced combatant and somebody who just picked up a blade. He would make a fool of Naruto, slashing him in multiple different areas and eventually kicking him off of the tree branch, making him land on the ground as a thud would be heard, and Sakura would scream out, "Naruto, are you okay?" But suddenly, you can see Sasuke jumping in towards the direction of Orochimaru and going all out, trying everything and anything to land a single blow, but nothing would work. Eventually, Orochimaru would say that he's strong now, but he could be much stronger. As from here, Sasuke with his Sharingan wouldn't even be able to keep up, as Orochimaru extends his neck and goes to land a bite on his neck. From here, Sasuke, I'm like getting myself all mixed up. Okay, pause for a second. Sasuke and Orochimaru, they're fighting on top of this like really, really big tree, right? They're going back and forth. Eventually, Orochimaru decides to stop playing, basically teases Sasuke on some, "Hey, you could have more power and I'll give it to you," and then proceeds to stretch his neck out, bite Sasuke, practically give him a hickey, as Sasuke from here would fall from that branch and he would hit the ground with a thud. Naruto, watching this and seeing Sasuke's unconscious body on the ground, would yell out, "What did you do?" As from here, Naruto, like literally just throwing his sword to the ground, jumps in on all fours and his claws would extend as Naruto would rush towards the direction of Orochimaru and begin to viciously attack him, who would create some distance using a snake jutsu, with Naruto being caught off guard by it and having a couple of snakes actually bite him. But that wouldn't matter because they would regenerate faster than they could actually inject a poison into him. Eventually, Naruto rips one off of him and breaks its neck before then turning towards Orochimaru and asking him once again, "What did you do?" before rushing in once more. But Orochimaru was done playing games. He clearly needed to get out of here. His goal was accomplished, and even though this kid was powerful, he will admit that he still isn't his primary objective. So Orochimaru, stopping the games, would finally let loose his aura, which would cause Naruto to like waver for just a moment. And then Orochimaru would grab Naruto by the throat before then hitting him in 3 different spots, which would completely paralyze his arms. As from here, Orochimaru would then go on to use the 5-pronged seal on Naruto, sealing the 9 tails even more before then telling Naruto that he is quite powerful. And if he was an Uchiha, he would have picked him instead. But unfortunately, he's not his main objective, as he would drop Naruto and he would hit the ground with a thud once more, as Sakura would be left to pick up the pieces, and eventually we would get the same situation that happens in canon, in which Sakura is protecting the team, Rock Lee would end up arriving, trying to do his best to help out, and eventually the rest of the rookies would end up arriving to give a helping hand as well, which leads to Sasuke waking up, going absolutely berserk and showing off his brand new power, which was gifted to him by Orochimaru. So hey, Orochimaru might be a pervert, whatever, but he definitely does do what he says he's gonna do. He says he's gonna give someone power, he does it. Anyways, going on after this, Naruto, after having his encounter with Orochimaru in the forest, would realize one thing, and that is that he's not strong enough. After having faced Haku, he thought of himself as a lot more powerful, having been able to outclass him so effortlessly. But now Naruto realizes that it's not just Hiruzen who's a monster like that. There's other ninjas out there who are capable of displaying levels of power just like him. And if Naruto ever wishes to get on the same level of his grandfather and father Minato, then he needs to step it up a notch. The training he's been doing, it's nothing. And Naruto decides that he's going to take it up way more levels than he did originally. So he decides that he's finally going to have to confront Hiruzen, asking him to know more about his grandfather and dad's jutsu, since, you know, he's not dumb. He's a spitting image of Tobirama, and he has Minato's eyes. Plus, how in the world was Naruto going to be the nine-tailed Jinchuriki and be born with such features on his face if he wasn't the son of Kushina? So that's why Naruto was able to piece together, wait, I'm the son of Kushina, which means I am the son of Minato. Plus, the name Uzumaki definitely didn't help anyone's case. So yeah, Naruto makes up his mind, but unfortunately that's gonna have to wait for after the preliminary battles, meaning Naruto versus Kiba can officially begin. And the battle would start like this. I could see everything else playing out just like it does in the original. Naruto's new power and new abilities don't really change much, but they definitely will versus Kiba. In the original, Naruto really only wins because of luck and plot armor, and if we're being honest, Kiba at this point was definitely stronger than Naruto. But this time around, Naruto's actually going to be creating a bunch of water clones which would rush in at Kiba to distract him, as Kiba would merge with Akamaru. Not merge, but like, you know, they do their little vortex jutsu, right? And after this, Naruto would decide that since he's all distracted, he would go on to create a water vortex jutsu, seeing Kiba's ability that he was displaying to destroy all of his water jutsus. Naruto would shoot one just like that, but with water and 2 times the force, as it would completely obliterate Kiba and Akamaru. And after that would happen, you would just hear a couple of cheers from the crowd, with Hiruzen looking at Naruto before just nodding and then looking away. Naruto, noticing that, would have a smile on his face, but then he would point at his eyes and the eyes of Hiruzen, as Hiruzen not really knowing what he was trying to say, but Naruto was trying to send a message. After the preliminaries would be over and everything else would go out of the way, Naruto would go over to Hinata's room, where he would ask how she's doing, seeing the battle that just took place. I mean, Naruto's not dumb. He knows that the girl likes him. He's not exactly the knuckleheaded ninja we all know and love. He's a lot smarter. And if we're going to be having his intellect go up, we definitely have to have his common sense do the same. So he visits Hinata and even makes a promise, telling her that he's going to wipe the floor with her cousin, telling her that the next time that she meets Neji, it's going to be for him to apologize to her. As from here, he would walk out of the room and tell Hinata that she should rest. As from here, Naruto would make his way towards Hiruzen's office, where he would actually run into him a little bit before that and say, hey, tell your Anbu guards to get out of the room. We need to talk. Hiruzen, from here, looking at Naruto, would say, about what, boy? As from here, Naruto turns to him and says, my grandfather and father. As from here, Hiruzen immediately, does the signal, as his Anbu guards would end up leaving the room, and Naruto would ask him if he can have access to some of their jutsu, saying that he needs to train, he needs to become more powerful. And Hiruzen would ask him how in the world he even found out about them being his parents, with Naruto just giving him the most dumbfounded expression, saying, look, it's not exactly hard to overhear people calling me a monster, whispering about the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Seeing these whiskers on my face, he would grab one, as he would just look to Hiruzen, who would say, all right, I get it. And he would say, how did you know that Minato was your father? Hiruzen, you gotta be kidding me. How in the world was I going to be inheriting these whiskers if it wasn't for the fact that my mother was the nine-tailed Jinchuriki before me? Clearly that had something to do with my birth. And after this, he would go on to say that nobody else could have sealed him but the 4th Hokage. That much is clear. But deciding to just seal him in a random kid? Yeah, that makes no sense. Of course he's his son. Plus, if he's being honest, there's a little bit of resemblance between him and that 4th Hokage statue, but mainly there's a huge amount of resemblance between himself and who they both very much know as his grandfather, Tobirama. From here, Hiruzen would just look at him before saying, well, I was gonna tell you eventually. And Naruto just looks at him before saying, yeah, I'm sure you were. After this, Hiruzen would just sigh again and then be like, fine, you want some scrolls to train, take them. It's not like you can't master them. I know how much of a genius you are, and plus, I think Minato and Tobirama would be very proud. Here's a couple of their techniques. You can try to learn them, kid, but just know it's not going to be easy. Naruto from here would smile before saying, yeah, learning powerful jutsus isn't going to be easy. Let me tell you something. Growing up wasn't easy. Mastering my chakra control with the nine tails bothering me at every step wasn't easy. This is going to be a piece of cake. Before then walking out of the room and eventually making his way towards training grounds where Naruto would begin trying to learn a couple of jutsus, mainly the flying Raijin, a jutsu that he's very much aware of that Tobirama and his father both had in common. There's also this other jutsu that stuck out to him, the Rasengan, but for now, he knows that he has to focus on the flying Raijin technique, something that allows him to teleport from object to object, leave seals at different locations, and even teleport to those. That is going to be extremely useful. But before he can begin to learn that, he needs to learn sealing jutsus. And even though he has massive reservoirs of chakra, he still needs to learn how to make basic seals. So Naruto would study that all during the 1 month, as well as training with Jiraiya, because obviously that's still going to be happening like in canon. And Naruto this time around is going to be having some sort of an idea of who Jiraiya is, so he's definitely going to be open to the idea of Jiraiya teaching him a couple of things. One of them would definitely be the summoning jutsu, and another would be controlling the abilities of the nine tails, meaning the zero tail cloak. The one that he gets where just like that red stuff starts like going all over him. That's exactly the thing that Naruto's going to be learning to control. And Naruto would do so, being a bit more of a genius than the one that we have in the original. I mean, the one that we have in the original was capable of learning the Rasen Shuriken in like a week and Sage Mode in like a month. Or wait, no, it was a week. Yeah, it was literally a week. He learned both of those crazy techniques in like a week because of the fact that he has the ability of the Shadow Clone Jutsu. But here, he doesn't exactly have that until very recently, which is something that he does learn when he gets access to the scroll. So even though we didn't learn it earlier and he was always relying on the water clone jutsus, now Naruto officially has access to the shadow clone jutsu. And not just the shadow clone, but the multi, right? After this, clearing all this stuff up, Naruto gets a lot stronger. He clearly is not going to learn the flying Raijin immediately. It's not going to be something he just gets, right? But he's definitely getting one step closer to it after this 1 month of constant training with shadow clones and learning as much as he can about, sealing jutsus, using his clones to actually stay back home and, learn about that, while Naruto uses his other clones to help him out with the nine tails control, which was probably the hardest amount of training that he's done in such a long time. This means that by the time that he faces Neji, Naruto would be a couple of leagues above him, and so when the battle would start, Naruto would be very curious about the Hyuga fighting style, wanting to get a taste of it for himself, as he would rush in there, creating space between them with a water wave jutsu, which causes Neji to jump back, and eventually he would shoot a water bullet jutsu, which he would deflect with his spinning rotation technique, right? Eventually after this, Naruto decides that he wants to get up close and personal like he had planned in the beginning, and so he would rush straight in at Neji before then getting into a hand-to-hand combat battle in which Neji would decimate Naruto. I'm not even gonna lie. Naruto does very well. He lands like 3 hits on him, but Neji lands 2 hits for every hit Naruto landed. So Neji ended up landing like 6, like 9 hits. 9 hits. Nah, like that's being generous to Naruto. Neji ends up hitting a couple of chakra points, hitting him in a couple of like very damaging spots. And Naruto would find out for himself that the Hyuga fighting style is very, very, very efficient. So Naruto eventually would decide that he needs to create some space ASAP before he ends up getting knocked out by Neji, and that's exactly what he does. As Naruto slams his hand on the ground, and no, he's not about to perform the summoning jutsu, he's about to perform a water bubble jutsu, something that he would have created himself during this 1 month of training, as a gigantic water bubble like area would surround them. So much water, because of the fact that Naruto has just insane reservoirs of chakra, would surround them, with Neji not even being able to fight underwater, seeing as that's not exactly a strong suit. And Naruto right after that, not letting Neji even swim up and try to like get out of that, would create water sharks, just like Kisame does, as they would rush in towards the direction of Neji, beginning to attack him, chipping at him ever so slightly, as Naruto would create a ton of them. And mind you, Neji would get rid of a couple, but not all of them. They would land attack after attack, but really, those are just the diversions. Naruto eventually, using the paper bomb jutsu, or sorry, not the paper bomb jutsu because it's paper, he would use an exploding, like, I don't know, he would just use some like exploding jutsu, right, that is able to like blow up underwater. Obviously not the paper attacks. I mean, those would probably work, but it just doesn't like make sense. You get what I'm saying? So he would just use some sort of jutsu that would explode the water and lead to a lot of damage on Neji, and that would lead to Neji being completely decimated, right? Because of this, Neji would be absolutely destroyed, and Naruto would go on to watch the battle between Sasuke and Gaara, with the fight going exactly like it does in canon, and Naruto chasing after Sasuke because Kakashi would tell him to. So Naruto would end up arriving just on time, as he would save Sasuke from a Chidori and Gaara clash, with Naruto turning to Sasuke and telling him that he can't win this alone, but he can. As from here, he would tap into the Nine-Tail state, saying that he's going to be fighting fire with fire. And from here, Naruto would rush Gaara as he begins to stun Gaara and Sasuke, who would be watching the battle in complete shock, mind you, with Naruto showing him the difference between himself and Sasuke, with Sasuke getting more and more angry by the second, realizing that Naruto really is so much more ahead of him, and that was just eating Sasuke alive. He was getting more and more jealous of Naruto by the second. But eventually, Naruto would end up landing a finishing blow, not even letting him transform into a gigantic state. After the fight would be done, Naruto would end up just like showing off a little bit more, like pushing Sasuke, not realizing that this was terrible because of the events that are to come. But after this would be done and everything would be cleared up, Naruto would be informed about Hiruzen's death, and this would eat at Naruto. Genuinely, this would just destroy him. This time around, his relationship with Hiruzen was a lot closer, and he genuinely felt like Hiruzen was some sort of grandpa to him. A bad one at that, but a grandpa. You know, they had their moments, more than even the Naruto in the original, and Naruto was mourning pretty badly. He was taking it pretty hard, but that would be until Jiraiya would end up arriving, as he would end up taking Naruto on the search for Tsunade mission, knowing that Naruto needed to get out of the house, stop thinking about Hiruzen. And so, on their way there to do that, Jiraiya would begin to actually teach Naruto the Rasengan, saying that there's only so much he can learn from ink and paper, as he would then go on to explain how the Rasengan works and even show Naruto it once, with Naruto going on to learn it in 1 week, just like he would in the original. Granted, he could probably learn it in like 3 days, but considering the fact that they're traveling, they're they're just walking all the time, it takes him a little bit more time. He's not just focused on it all one day with a bunch of shadow clones walking along trying to, like create little Rasengans, That would be funny, but that definitely doesn't happen. Moving on, after this would happen, we would basically just flash forward to Naruto inside of a hotel room, having learned the Rasengan, in which on this particular day, if you guys have seen the anime and or read the manga, we all know that here is where Itachi and Kisame end up running into Naruto for the first time. And even though in the original the fight goes down just like it does in the original, I guess, this time it's going to be completely different, because Naruto is sitting in this mindset that he can't just run away from fights, and number two, he has been training and Naruto wants to show the fruits of it, and also he doesn't like backing down. So Naruto, when he stares at Itachi and Kisame, would immediately rush in towards the direction of Kisame, landing a kick that would send Kisame flying into the wall, as Naruto, turning towards the direction of Itachi, would then go on and create a water bullet jutsu which would hit Itachi right on, and Itachi would be sent flying back as Naruto rushes in with his blade and would go on and try to slash at Itachi, who takes out a kunai and begins to counter Naruto. Suddenly from behind, Kisame would come lunging in with his blade as he would go on to slash at Naruto jumping over it before then kicking Kisame in the face and turning his attention back to Kisame. Naruto from here would go on to use a couple of water style jutsus, followed by his blade just like rushing in at him and like attacking him and stuff like that. I was gonna say something, but then like it completely blew my mind. But yeah, he goes in and attacks Kisame, eventually being able to defeat him and turning back towards Itachi, where he would end up rushing in with Itachi, you know, like going in for like an attack on him as well, like they were about to clash, and Naruto slashes at Itachi's chest, with Itachi falling to the ground, dead. That is, until Naruto would realize that it was all a genjutsu. Naruto in this moment would look and realize that he just stared at Itachi's eyes. The fool had just fallen under genjutsu, and Naruto would curse himself for that. But it would be in this moment that Itachi would tell him that there's no way that that would actually happen, before then kicking Naruto and sending him flying into the wall, and Itachi would unsheath his, or not unsheath, but he would grab a sword from his back, right? Before then telling Naruto that he's not ready to face two Akatsuki members. But it'd be in that moment that Naruto was on the ground that Sasuke would come flying in, yelling out, "Itachi!" with his Chidori in hand, getting ready to absolutely destroy his brother. But it would be in this moment that we would get the iconic "You're not strong enough, Sasuke" moment, as eventually after this, Kisame would have been fighting Naruto during that whole, while that whole thing was happening. And when that ended up taking place, and Naruto watched as Sasuke was placed under the Tsukiyomi, Naruto was trying his absolute best to like do something, like fight him and like save Sasuke. His Nine Tails aura eventually ended up being busted out, and this would have ended up leading to Naruto hitting Kisame and actually doing a little bit of damage, and then rushing towards Itachi, who would place him under a genjutsu once more, just saying, "You're not ready yet." As from here, Jiraiya would end up arriving, calming down the situation, and everything would just go down like it does in the original. As after this would end up happening, Naruto, during the cleanup and after everything would be all said and done, would end up realizing that he is severely weak to genjutsu, especially somebody with a Sharingan, as he would turn to Sasuke, was completely unconscious from the effects of the Tsukiyomi, and think to himself that he might have to develop something to be able to counter the Uchihas, going on to remember something that he read in Tobiramas, like little list of like jutsus that he used to use, with one of them saying how to counter Uchihas. Remembering the name, he would remember Bringer of Darkness. And he would then go on to think to himself that that's probably something he could use against them. So yeah, this is where Naruto's going to be learning the Bringer of Darkness jutsu. Having been taken out by an Uchiha, Naruto now finds a reason to actually try to defeat an Uchiha. And so, we would eventually get Naruto to train with Jiraiya while they're on their way to meet Tsunade, which they eventually do, with Naruto fighting her just like you would expect, because she disrespects the Hokages. And this time, not only does Naruto want to stand up for Hiruzen, who literally just died protecting the village, but his father and grandfather, who both gave their lives up for the village as well, going on to tell her that she's a waste of a shinobi, not worthy of the title of legendary Sannin, and telling her that she's garbage, that if anybody should become Kage, it's Jiraiya, even though he's a perv. Better to be a perv than an absolute loser drunk. As from here, she would slam her fists on the table and tell Naruto that if he can land one blow on her, she'll become Hokage. But if he can't, then he'll be in for a rude awakening of why exactly she is a legendary Sannin. Immediately, Naruto smirks, looking at her and going, "You're on, old bag." As from here, they make their way outside, and she would say, "I'll use this finger." As Naruto would just smirk, saying, "You gotta be kidding me," and then think to himself that this is a good opportunity to try using that Bringer of Darkness jutsu, as he would then go on to use it using a basic version of it, like a weaker form, but because of the fact that she was drunk, it was extremely effective. As from here, he would rush in and would successfully end up landing a scratch on her, using his blade to nick her right on her arm, which she would have used to try to block Naruto's attack. Naruto would then say, "Looks like I win." As from here, he would smile at her, and she would ask him why he didn't go in for a full attack, with Naruto saying he's not exactly going to kill a family member, as he would then go on to reveal that they're related, and Tsunade would go on to give Naruto the necklace, telling Naruto that she believes in him. As eventually, they would end up coming face to face with Orochimaru once more, with Naruto feeling much more ready to take him on, but understanding that Tsunade and Jiraiya are there, he would let them be the ones that handle that. As eventually, Jiraiya would go on to fight Orochimaru, or at least distract them and talk for a bit, as Tsunade would end up facing Kabuto. But once we get this scenario where Kabuto ends up drawing blood, the dynamic of the battle completely changes. She would show her fear of blood and Naruto would decide to step in, deciding that he's done watching the legendary sun and actually try. As from here, Naruto would go on to keep up easily by using the Bringer of Darkness jutsu once more, as he would throw his blade at Kabuto, using it as a distraction who would barely dodge it by just the sound of it. But Naruto would rush in with the Rasengan and absolutely destroy Kabuto, who would be sent flying back coughing up blood, with Orochimaru being pushed back by Tsunade and Jiraiya, with Tsunade having snapped out of it after seeing Naruto step in the way that he did and protect her. Tsunade basically vowed in her head that she was going to take Orochimaru down, but unfortunately the snake would have ended up slithering away, and after this we would end up having Tsunade, Naruto, and Jiraiya return to the village. Alright, so I'm back to recording the final part for this video. To you guys, it's literally been just a second. To me, it's been a lot of days. I went camping, I slept a lot, I worked a lot, and I just had a couple of busy days. So that's why this video took a little bit longer than usual to record, but I wasn't actually going to finish it this soon, and I was maybe going to wait a little bit longer before I dropped it, but then I remembered what it was like to be on your guys' side of things. I remember watching a couple of what ifs that had great part ones that just never finished, or just in general, watching some videos that had great storylines that were just never finished. And I just figured, you know what, I don't want to do that to them. Does that mean I'm going to do this with every single video that I have unfinished? Absolutely not. But this is a pretty good video, and I know that you guys liked it, so I'm going to definitely finish this one. So, getting into it. After returning to Konoha, Naruto does what Naruto would probably do, which is just spend most of his time just relaxing, as well as checking in on Sasuke after returning from his little mission to find Tsunade. Because of this, him and Sakura would visit him whenever they can, and eventually this would lead to Sasuke waking up, because, you know, he kind of has to. But when Sasuke wakes up, a little bit of the events that happen in the story are going to be changing just a bit. Sasuke, this time around, doesn't view Naruto as beneath him and think, oh, you know, like, I can't have this guy be stronger than me. It's different. It's just like, I can't let him get above me. You know, because they're rivals. It's not like he actually views him as beneath him or thinks that, you know, like he should be so much stronger than Naruto, but he knows that they should be at least like comparable. And what's been happening lately with Naruto getting so much stronger every single day, it seems like, has been bugging Sasuke. Plus the fact that Itachi wasn't after him, but after Naruto, his rival. That was definitely driving a wedge between Sasuke and Naruto's already weird friendship that they had going on. So after this would happen, Sasuke would wake up and pretty much just begin to challenge Naruto, which leads us to the rooftop fight. And the rooftop fight would be a little interesting to say the least. The instant that everything would start, Sasuke would instantly turn on the Sharingan, and Naruto would look at him asking if he really wants to do this, that he can nullify that little Sharingan of his. But Sasuke wouldn't care, not even for a moment. He just looks at him and says, "Shut up, Naruto," as he would rush in towards his direction, and Naruto would immediately form one hand sign to shoot a water bullet jutsu at Sasuke, which Sasuke would actually dodge and then go in for a blow at Naruto. But in this particular moment, Naruto would then go on to jump back, barely avoiding it by like his hair. Like if you slowed the clip down, Sasuke's leg would go flying and Naruto's hair would have gotten kicked by it, so he got like flung up. But in this moment, Naruto looked back up, held one hand sign, staring at Sasuke, who was rushing back at him again, and then simply said, "Bringer of Darkness." As in this moment, Sasuke could just feel his eyes completely shut off, like his eyes were done for. And in that moment, Naruto would have proceeded to absolutely body Sasuke, landing a bunch of attacks on him, not a Rasengan, that would have ended up taking Sasuke out completely from this match and rendering him completely defeated. This means that Naruto would have won in a way different fashion, and instead of Sasuke looking at the aftermath of their Rasengan Chidori Rasengan Chidori clash, he blatantly got destroyed. And that is not sitting well with Sasuke at all. Not only is now he being told that he's too weak by his brother, but he's also being shown that he's weaker than his own rival. So Sasuke would be training very angrily, trying to get stronger than Naruto, and also thinking about Itachi, when suddenly Kakashi would actually end up arriving and telling Sasuke not to go down this path, that he's seen far too many guys go down it, and it never ends well. But Sasuke would just look at him before saying like, well, maybe if I killed everyone important to you in your life, maybe then you'd understand. But Kakashi just turns to him and says, Well, that's an interesting theory, but I think you're a little late to put that to the test. As from here, Sasuke realizes what he just said, and after this he would just sort of remain quiet. That is, until eventually the sound 4 would end up arriving, and as we know, Sasuke gets tempted very easily. I'm surprised that he didn't go off with Orochimaru in the Chunin exams after he unlocked the ability of the curse mark, but that's neither here nor there. Eventually after this, we would end up getting the same situation that played out with the search for Sasuke arc, as the Genin team would be sent out, meaning that we would eventually get battles like Choji versus Jirobo, Shikamaru versus Tayuya, Kiba versus Sakon, and Neji versus Kidomaru, which was my personal favorite fight of all of them. I mean, like, the way that Neji took that arrow and proceeded to land that finishing blow, it was kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. But eventually after those battles would take place and Naruto would be allowed to just skip through the boss battles. Naruto, or no, not really, not boss battles, but like minion battles, you get what I'm saying, like the underlings. Naruto eventually would end up running into the strongest underling, which is Kimimaru. And once this battle would start, I'm not gonna lie, this would actually be a very, very good one, because from what we saw in the original, Naruto proceeded to create hundreds of shadow clones and Kimimaru proceeded to obliterate them. Not only that, but he was able to keep up with Rock Lee's taijutsu, and even when Rock Lee was drunk, mind you, so that was very, very incredible. Plus, once Kimimaru actually got very serious, the tides of the battle completely shifted, and there was no way Rock Lee was getting out of that without Gaara. So this battle is actually a very, very heated one, in which the second that it starts, Naruto would just want to end everything off as quickly as possible, going on to use a water jutsu to just send Kidomaru flying, but unfortunately the attack just wouldn't actually land. It would be stopped by a bone that would just appear in front of it, tanking the brunt of the attack and actually just pushing Kimimaru back a little bit. Before then, Kimimaru would extend his arm and shoot a bunch of bones from his fingers, leading to Naruto having to dodge. But by the time that he finished doing that, Kimimaru would have actually rushed in towards Naruto, and then both of them ended up getting into a clash in which Kimimaru, using his bones, would try to actually attack Naruto and pierce him, right? But Naruto would have whipped out a kunai, last second, blocking Kimimaru's attack, as Naruto and Kimimaru just stared at each other for a second, dividing as they would just rush apart from each other. And Naruto would look at him and say, "Come on, I don't have much time to spend with you, so while I think you're pretty strong, I don't exactly have time for this." Kimimaru would look at Naruto, and Naruto immediately would proceed to create a bunch of water clones, which would actually begin shooting off of Naruto's body, a jutsu that he had actually been working on for the past couple of days, as Naruto's clones would rush in towards Kimimaru, who would just completely obliterate them easily, right? But in the moment of that happening, Naruto would come shooting in from above, with Kimimaru being like, "This is nothing," before Naruto disappears, and Naruto would actually appear behind Kimimaru as he says, "You sure about that?" slamming a Rasengan straight into Kimimaru's back, who would actually tank most of it, actually. Like a cool 40% of the attack. So the bones would have actually ended up appearing behind Kimimaru to tank most of the attack, but it still would have hit him and sent him flying forward, which meant Kimimaru, was I don't know why, like it's just been a couple of days, but for some reason my mind is so like, I can't speak today. I'm sorry guys, let me slow down a little bit. Okay, let's recap. Naruto rushed in at Kimimaru with a bunch of clones. Kimimaru handled it, but it was just a distraction. Naruto jumped up from above, flying Raijin behind him, Rasengan in his back. Kimimaru blocked most of it, but he still got hit by it. Resume. Okay, after this happened, Naruto just stands above Kimimaru as he would have landed on the ground, and Naruto asks him if he wants more, with him holding a kunai and just tossing it up into the air. But this would be when Lee would actually end up arriving, and Naruto would just look at look at Lee, nod, and just say, "I'll trust you, Lee," as he would get out of there, and eventually we would get the battle between Naruto and Sasuke, which, you know, obviously isn't going to play out very well, considering that even if Sasuke was to use that crazy curse mark amp that he ends up getting, I really don't see a universe at all where Sasuke even ends up winning. So the battle would be something like this. Naruto would start off being pretty serious, meaning that Sasuke would immediately be on the losing end. Using nothing but his Sharingan and curse mark ability that he had on at the moment, he just wasn't able to keep up with Naruto, so Sasuke ended up basically having to resort to more, you know, bigger bigger and badder tactics, with Sasuke basically ending up activating his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, as the battle would finally end up getting to a point where Sasuke was actually keeping up with Naruto, who's stunned by this since he still hasn't whipped out something like the Flying Raijin. But it would be in this moment that after going blow for blow with Sasuke, Naruto decides that he doesn't exactly have the leisure of just sitting here and acting like Sasuke's weak or something. He has to do something. He has to take Sasuke out now. So as much as Naruto didn't want to have to go this far, he ends up having to use the Bringer of Darkness jutsu, forming a Rasengan in his hand before realizing that this is the only way to stop Sasuke, to bring him back to the village. But as Naruto was going in to land this attack, Sasuke would have dodged out of the way, saying that won't work twice, as from here Naruto would miss completely and Sasuke would have actually gone in for a Chidori, which would have actually ended up landing straight on Naruto's shoulder, as Naruto just turns to Sasuke and his eyes immediately change colors, with him saying, "I didn't want to do this, Sasuke, but if this is what you really want, then I'll let you do it. But stop now. This is the last chance I'm gonna give you. Prove to me that the Uchihas aren't all the same." But unfortunately for Naruto, this received the exact opposite of the reaction that he wanted, because those were the worst possible words that he could have said to Sasuke in that moment. Immediately, Sasuke would tap into the final form of the Curse Mark's power and would just look at Naruto enraged, as Naruto, seeing this, would decide that it's over, as his shoulder wound would immediately close up, and throwing a single kunai past Sasuke, he would just say, "We're done here." As Sasuke would say, "You missed," and Naruto would catch it from behind him before just saying, "Did I?" As he would slam a Rasengan into Sasuke's back, completely knocking him out and destroy, just devastating Sasuke. Like, he was not going to be getting out for a couple of hours after that. So Sasuke would be on the ground completely unconscious, as from here, Naruto would just stand over him and just look at the expression on Sasuke's face. He was genuinely willing to kill him, if it meant getting more power. As Naruto would just clench Sasuke's headband in his hand, and he would think to himself that this isn't how it was supposed to end. The Uchihas weren't all supposed to be the same, but he guesses his grandpa was right. That scroll he read, he wasn't lying. The Uchihas are all the same. As from here, Naruto would go on and just throw it on the ground and then scratch it, as he would say, "Huh, looks like I was able to scratch it." And then he would just turn to Sasuke before looking at him and just thinking about it. What does he do? Does he just put Sasuke out of his misery now? At least this way he won't try to leave again, or to try to kill somebody in the village, or maybe hurt Sakura. But in that moment he thought to himself that he couldn't even bring himself to do it anyways. Grabbing a kunai, he realized that he just didn't have the strength to kill Sasuke. Memories of the good times would flood Naruto's brain, and he realized that he just didn't have what it takes. So Naruto, just looking at Sasuke, says, "If I have to, I'll end the Uchiha cycle. But this is the last chance, Sasuke." As from here, he throws the headband on the ground and then walks away from Sasuke, leaving him on the ground saying, "If I take you back, you'll just hate me for it. But if I let you go and something happens to you, well, that's just not my fault." And from here, Naruto would just leave Sasuke behind, walking away. As a couple of minutes after this, he would end up bumping into Kakashi, who would ask him where Sasuke is, but Naruto would say that he's gone, just in a dark tone, as he would walk away with a look of anger and uncertainty, not even knowing if he would have actually made the right choice there. But in this moment, Kakashi would just look at Naruto, realize that something happened back there, and just begin making his way back to the village with Naruto, asking him more questions, but Naruto stays silent, not saying a word to Kakashi, who tries to get more information out of him, but Naruto just straight up flying Raijins out of there, and by the time that Kakashi decides to go back and see what happened, Sasuke would be gone. And not because he got up and just started running away, but because Kabuto would have actually ended up arriving and taking Sasuke back to the hideout, which would end up leaving Kakashi with nothing to trace. And so after the mission would be over and everybody would end up reporting to Lady Tsunade about exactly what went down, Naruto would end up just going on a 3-year time skip in which he would leave the village with Jiraiya, and he would end up eventually arriving, obviously, but he would arrive a lot stronger than the one that we would get in the original. This time, because of the fact that not only does Naruto not have to polish his basics when it comes to being a ninja. But this time around, Naruto was just so unbelievably smart and talented and just prodigious that he doesn't need Jiraiya to necessarily teach him anything. He just needs him with him to go on these journeys and do these cool things and see all these awesome places. Naruto pretty much just traveled the world and actually trained alongside Jiraiya this time. So he would have ended up returning way stronger than ever, having mastered pretty much everything his father and grandfather would have left behind, including Sage Mode, which he would have actually recently learned before arriving back to the village, actually having gone with Jiraiya to train for the past 3 months in Mount Miyaboku before finally ending up arriving back in the village. You guys might be wondering, like, why did it take so long for Naruto to learn Sage Mode? Well, the real reason is because Jiraiya took a lot longer to master it than Naruto did. In reality, he mastered it in 2 weeks without taking advantage of the crazy amount of chakra and shadow clones that he has. So Naruto was just fine. So it's pretty safe to say that Naruto's gonna be returning a bit of a monster. Because of that, when Naruto would end up returning to the village, I could imagine 2 things happening. Number 1, Naruto ends up arriving, sees Hinata, sees Sakura, pretty much just sees everybody, and knowing that Hinata actually likes him this time because he's not extremely dense and just dumb, and seeing how she's matured and grown up after all these years, I can definitely see Naruto liking Hinata and just deciding to do something about that relationship romantically wise, but I'm not really going to be covering ships anymore since I don't really care about them. Hinata and Naruto are going to be getting together in this series, and then after that, what pretty much ends up taking place is he reports to Lady Tsunade, who is wondering exactly how strong Naruto got. So she would end up telling him that he has to face off against somebody and do the bell test alongside Sakura, which is where Naruto would finally have the chance to display to her and you guys exactly how strong he actually got, with the reintroduction happening and Naruto shocking everybody, especially Kakashi, when he would actually toss him a novel saying that it's a gift from Jiraiya. As from here, after this would happen, Naruto and Sakura would finally get the chance to show exactly how strong they've gotten. And as soon as the match would start, Naruto would immediately tell Sakura to just start everything off with her strongest attack. So Sakura would slam her fist into the ground before then breaking everything, as Naruto would show exactly what he's made of, closing his eyes before instantly tapping into Sage Mode and then throwing a bunch of kunais at the direction of Kakashi, who would think to himself that that's not what he thinks it is, right? Before Naruto grabs a kunai, grabs a bell, teleports to another one, then grabs the other bell, just to show off the fact that he could have grabbed both of them at any moment and he could have done it whenever he wanted with 0 difficulty. This would stun Tsunade and Kakashi, who were just absolutely not expecting this. But this is when Jiraiya cheekily would actually end up turning towards Tsunade and just saying, yeah, that kid, he surpassed me way long ago. He's definitely Tobiramas' grandson and Minato's son. The kid's a genius. He even made a couple of jutsus himself, which he doesn't exactly want to share with me, but I get it, it's fine. After this though, Tsunade and Jiraiya, they end up catching up, and then we would finally get Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi going on a couple of missions, where eventually after returning from the 3rd mission that they would have actually ended up going on, they would finally end up being sent to retrieve Gaara, the Kage of the Sand Village, which is something that Naruto actually had already known, having visited the Sand Village during their 3-year mission to train. Naruto would have actually ended up meeting up with Gaara a while back and actually clearing things up in the air, with Gaara telling him that even though he didn't talk no jutsu him exactly this time around, he definitely got his life back together where it should be. So Gaara and Naruto are actually friends here, and Naruto has a flying Raijin marker nearby that village. So immediately Naruto, once he heard that Gaara was the one in danger and it was the Akatsuki that were going after him, Naruto wasted literally no time, deciding to immediately take hold of Kakashi and Sakura's hand and just teleport straight there. As because of this, they would have ended up arriving way sooner than in canon, meaning that they would have ended up having more time to heal Kankuro and actually find the Akatsuki way sooner than in canon, meaning that even though they did heal Kankuro and that's a minor change, the huge change that happens is that Gaara isn't dead. And this means that when Team 7 would actually end up arriving, Naruto wastes absolutely no time as soon as Sakura smashed in the rock to get them inside, as he would grab onto Kakashi and flying Raijin straight in front of Sasori as he would throw a kunai there, obviously. And the second that would happen, Kakashi would smash his Chidori into the chest of Sasori, destroying him completely, as Deidara, realizing what's going on, would try to escape, but Naruto would instantly slam his hand on the ground, creating a water dome, like a bubble, huge bubble that Deidara just wasn't going to be getting out of, as Naruto would rush in towards the direction of Deidara before then trapping him inside of a water prison, beginning to actually try to interrogate Deidara, who would not say a single word, telling him that he can go to hell. In fact, they can all go to hell, before then using his massive gigantic explosion jutsu, which would actually lead to the team being flying Raijin out of there immediately alongside of an unconscious Gaara. So they would have ended up defeating the Akatsukis, and Deidara, just like in the original, would have used his final masterpiece with no witnesses. Literally nobody saw it, and they ended up arriving back to the Sand Village before Gaara could have had the full-tailed beast extracted. So he was just fine, and this mission straight up was smooth sailing. There was literally nothing that went wrong during this mission at all. Oh, and one thing that I must mention is that Naruto doesn't actually end up having that encounter with Itachi, that, you know, he used a Tsukiyomi crow to put it inside of him. Honestly, that's sort of one of the weirdest things that happened in the Naruto series. One thing that I noticed is Kishimoto, when he was writing Naruto, added a bunch of little things in there to make it so that his plan for the final story would end up working, even though it really wasn't going to be working. But moving on from my dumb point, eventually after teleporting out of that area, Naruto would just whisper under his breath, "Baka." As from here, he would think to himself that the only thing that he managed to do was not let them get their information. As from here, because of the changes that happened to the story, unfortunately this means that we don't get the situation of the Tenshi Bridge mission. And so, Naruto and everybody else just remain in the village until eventually Pain would end up arriving, because they actually end up going to Kakuzu this time, and because Naruto was just this powerful, and you guys saw the way that he handled Deidara and Sasori, I don't really think I have to tell you guys much about the Kakuzu situation, since Kakuzu was straight up defeated by one Rasengan that Naruto barely, might I add, managed to land on him. Oh, and Naruto has far since mastered the Rasen Shuriken. That's one of the first things that Naruto would have done, adding an element to the actual Rasengan, which is something that surprised Jiraiya, and something that Jiraiya actually had a really hard time learning to do, which is something that he's barely even been able to like get to like scratching the surface of how to actually perform the jutsu properly. And so because of this, what pretty much ends up taking place is, like I said, we just have to wait for Pain to arrive in the village. But before all that, Naruto has to find out some very sad news, which is the loss of his teacher, Jiraiya. Like you would expect, just like in the original, Jiraiya would actually end up leaving Naruto to go after the leader of the Akatsuki. And unfortunately, like in the original, due to Jiraiya never actually learning something like the Flying Raijin or having any means of escape, even though Jiraiya would do significantly much better than he would in the original, Jiraiya still ends up losing because of the fact that he doesn't have the same plot armor that Naruto had in the original. I mean, let's be honest, in no world should Naruto have even won the Pain fight, if not for the fact that he had a bunch of crazy hacks, had the Nine Tails, Hinata jumped in to help, Minato ended up helping him in the battle. So there's just no world that I see Jiraiya being able to actually defeat somebody with the power of the Rinnegan, much less a bunch of paths. So because of that, Naruto would end up falling into a deep period of depression, in which Naruto would spend most of his time just mourning his master's death, eventually deciding to visit Jiraiya's grave, as wouldn't you know it, Pain would end up arriving at that exact same moment. While Jiraiya is sitting there just looking at Jiraiya's gravestone, knowing that there's no body under there, he would just drop some flowers saying that he misses him, as he would promise to get revenge for him. He's going to be taking out the leader of the Akatsuki if it's the last thing he does. But ironically, simultaneously you would hear "Almighty push," as the village would be completely destroyed, and the second that this would happen, Naruto would snap out of his daze, teleporting straight into the battlefield, as he would be wearing casual clothes, mind you, like pajama pants, a t-shirt, and wouldn't even have his his usual fighting sandals that he wears, or like his fighting little shoes things, I guess. I don't know if I would even call them shoes, but yeah, he ends up just looking at Pain and saying, "You killed my master, you've hurt my friends, and you've destroyed my village. You're gonna regret that." As instantly, 100 shadow clones would shoot off of Naruto's body using a jutsu that he would have developed a long time ago, as he would throw an insane barrage of kunai at Pain's directions, who would try to as Naruto would teleport straight to one of the paths, destroying it with a water style Rasengan, as he would teleport to the next path of Pain, but before he could land another attack, he would actually be sent flying back alongside every single one of his kunais, and Naruto would just look up at Pain before realizing that he has some sort of gravitational jutsu. He can push and pull things, can he? Rushing back in to try to find out the exact timing of it, Naruto would end up figuring it out, as he would just smirk and say, 5 seconds, huh? Should be more than enough time to destroy you and your goons. As Naruto would flying Raijin back in, destroying another 2 paths of Pain, before then being sent flying back again, as he would smirk and say, "Any last words?" As Pain would shoot rockets at the direction of Naruto, but Naruto wouldn't even care for a second, before then tapping into the power of Sage Mode, as it would be a sort of corrupted version, I guess you could say it, but it looks really cool, mind you. It looks really, really cool, but it is like a corrupted version looking one, right? As Naruto would just flying Raijin back in, destroying the last couple paths of Pain, as after this would happen, Naruto would instantly go to grab one of the rods and use Sage Mode. He would track down the real Pain, as from here, he would end up arriving right to where Nagato is, and he would ask him how painful he should make his death. With Konan rushing at Naruto, not wanting Nagato to be killed, but Naruto would quickly backhand her, sending her flying away, as a bunch of paper bombs would shoot towards the direction of Naruto, exploding in front of his face, but luckily, a jutsu that Naruto would have put up right before entering would actually block the attack, a water barrier jutsu, inspired by the same one that actually protects Gaara, his sand. Just like that, Naruto would have created a perfect defense barrier. Well, perfect enough for, semi-slow attacks, something like an explosion. As from here, Naruto would stare back at Nagato, as he would tell him that he understands why he wants to kill him. In fact, he thinks he has every right to be mad. But what about his justice? As from here, Pain proceeds to explain everything that happened in his life, going on to do the same thing that he would do in the original, as Naruto, after hearing all these things, would end up making a decision that actually saves the lives of a bunch of the villagers that were killed. Meaning that even though they don't exactly even though he's not doing this to save Kakashi or a bunch of ninjas we actually care about, Naruto is saving a bunch of really, fodder villagers. So, there's that. But because of this, Naruto would end up arriving back to the village and being the hero of it, mind you, which is actually going to be a huge thing for the story. Because I don't know if I'm the only one, but I personally really wanted Naruto's status as the hero of the village to be more important than what we ended up getting in the original, and actually have some sort of weight to it and actually change some of the events, which this time, that's actually gonna be the case. Naruto's status as the hero of the village isn't just gonna be for show, it's gonna be doing something. So the second that Naruto would arrive back at the village, Naruto would be declared as the hero once again, as from here, Naruto would hear of a couple of rumors over the course of the next day, as Naruto decides that he absolutely does not want Danzo to become Hokage, and so, in his stead, Naruto, using his political power that he would have gained from saving the village, would end up saying that he will actually step in place of Tsunade, saying that if anyone's gonna do it, it's him. After all, she's just warming the seat up for him right now. As everybody would agree, and so Danzo wouldn't actually be the one who goes to the 5 Kage summit this time. It's actually going to be Naruto, but before that, a couple of things are actually going to be taking place. One of them being very important, Naruto's meeting of Obito. Because remember, in the original story, Naruto actually ends up being confronted by Obito, questioned about Nagato and why he betrayed him, and so they would actually end up talking, with Naruto noticing something, the Sharingan, and hearing the voice, Naruto would actually go on to believe that it's the real Madara Uchiha. So Naruto turns to him, asking him if he intends to lose again in just such a cool way, as he would then say, or I'm so sorry, I butchered the line. Naruto would just turn to Obito and just be like, "Do you intend to lose again to the Senju family?" As he would be sharpening a kunai, and Obito would say that he's just here to talk for now, but he's pretty cocky for someone that's never faced someone like him. As Naruto would not have any of this and immediately would begin to flare up his aura, with Obito realizing that Naruto might actually be a threat. So Obito goes on to do the smart thing here and would actually end up leaving, deciding to actually just take on Naruto another day. As from here, we would eventually get the second event that actually changes, which is Naruto's arrival at the 5 Kage Summit, which would play a massive role, because this time things are going to be changing a bit. Well, yeah, technically a bit, considering the fact that Naruto was not going to sit there and take anything from Raikage, who would actually try to start something with the Leaf Village, considering that Sasuke still ends up arriving and not arriving, but attacking Killer B. And so because of this, we would actually end up getting a little bit of a squabble between dudes, I'm so sorry that I'm talking this bad today, between Naruto and Raikage. But before that could actually even take place and Naruto and Raikage started actually, facing off, Raikage would say, "Calm down there, boy. Remember, you're not the actual Hokage. You're just a filler right here. You shouldn't even be speaking to me like this." But Naruto would clap back with possibly the coolest line that he said this whole series, saying, "Oh yeah? Well, my father was a Jonin when he kicked your butt, so I wouldn't be speaking." And Raikage was actually about to attack him, being very upset by that line. But it would be in this moment that Obito would end up arriving, declaring the 4th Great Shinobi World War. As Naruto was flare up his aura even more, showing off that right there, he wasn't even going full on out when he was showing it off against Raikage. Now he's serious. He would say, "If it's a war you want, it's a war you'll get." As his chakra would flare up even more, think about that, even more than the presence that Sasuke and Orochimaru would have felt when they actually ended up reviving the Kage. As from here, Naruto would think about this before then realizing that they're gonna need all the firepower they can get. Sasuke's time of being in the shadows and being a little rebellious teenager are over. He needs to grow up and return to the village because they need him. And so, Naruto would actually teleport back to the flying Raijin mark that he would have left on Sasuke, as he would think to himself that he probably should have done this when he attacked Killer B. As from here, Sasuke would instantly go on the offensive, just stunned to see Naruto, who would block every single one of his attacks, explaining the situation, and saying he knows he's not a fan of him, but a war's coming, and the village needs all the firepower they can get. But Sasuke would look at him saying, "Why would I help the village when I intend to destroy it?" As he would look at him and say, "Why is that?" Before then telling Naruto everything about Danzo, with Naruto just laughing, saying that he's been looking for an excuse to get rid of the old man. As from here, he would tell Sasuke that he'll help him with that, if he helps him with the war that's coming. As he would say he knows he hates Salif, but those in power, those that caused that situation that he just told him about, they're no longer in place. Heck, he's the Kage now, not exactly telling Sasuke that he's just a temporary Hokage, but looking at him and telling him that he'll make sure he faces no consequences. As Sasuke would actually think about this and agree to join, since even though we know that Sasuke was going crazy in the original, this gives Sasuke the chance to kill Danzo, and Naruto's right. He's able to return back to the village, plus Itachi's already taken care of, and Naruto just looks at him saying, "Come on, if I wanted you dead, I would have killed you then." As Sasuke just looks at him and tells him, "Fine, but you owe me a rematch when this is all over with." As from here, both of them would nod, and at the second that they would have done this, Obito would have actually ended up arriving, piercing Sasuke, who would have been caught completely off guard, with Obito showing himself, saying, "It's a shame. I was really growing fond of the young Uchiha." As from here, Naruto seeing this would immediately become enraged, trying to kill Obito, who would just phase through every single one of his attacks, eventually being tagged by one of them but not making that mistake again, as Naruto's moves just aren't able to hit him because of the fact that Kakashi isn't there. He doesn't have the perfect counter there. And so, Naruto, never having faced something like Kamui before, would be caught completely off guard. Even his attempt to do what his father did, it just didn't work, because Obito knew how to counter it now, having faced it once. And so, After a very long struggle, which would have actually lasted a couple of hours, Naruto would eventually be defeated by White Mask Obito, as Sasuke would have been on the ground with the debris shooting everywhere, bleeding out for the last couple of hours, would have ended up dying as well, and so Naruto and Sasuke would both be killed. Because think about it this way. Naruto in the original, with the ability of KCM1, just wasn't able to stand up to Obito. Plus, we know what it would look like to see Minato with the Flying Raijin plus KCM facing off against somebody along these tiers of power, specifically somebody with a phasing ability, and it didn't exactly turn out too well. So, being realistic here, even though Naruto would do phenomenally well against practically anybody but Obito, in fact, I could genuinely see him even beating Madara, or even Obito with the Ten Tails. He would have done a much better job there. That phasing ability and countering it for the first time and not knowing how to counter it, that's gonna be tricky. Naruto even tried using the Bringer of Darkness jutsu, but Obito's Sharingan, it was just too potent. There was nothing Naruto could do. He didn't have enough power, but that won't be forever, because after Naruto would be taken out, the QB would actually be ripped out of him, as Sasuke and Naruto, like they would in the original, would actually end up getting their power-ups way earlier than in canon, due to the fact that they ended up meeting Obito and by extent being actually killed by him. They would both end up unlocking their 6 paths power-ups, as after this, Naruto would finally end up getting up, with Sasuke doing so as well, both of them showing that they're much stronger and to be reckoned with. Obito would see this being stunned, as from here, Naruto would turn to Sasuke and say, "We got this, right?" And Sasuke would say, "Sure we do. Just remember to hold up your promise." As from here, the both of them would face on Obito, and after a bit of back and forth and Obito being completely destroyed, Sasuke, to make sure he puts the last nail in the coffin, would actually teleport to the dimension in which Obito is in. And so, right after that would happen, Naruto and Sasuke would actually land simultaneous attacks on Obito, both on the outside and inside of Kamui's dimension, which would absolutely destroy Obito, leading to Obito's perfect defeat and Madara's proceeding, stopping, Madara never ends up coming back to life. But let me put it this way, even if he did, nothing would happen. Because remember, once Naruto got this power up, he literally destroys Madara. He destroys Madara in his base with nothing but Sage Mode activated. Like, really remember that. So yeah, there's literally no more stakes. The battles are over. And obviously, there is ninjas in the Boruto universe, and Kaguya could probably pose a threat, but I'm not gonna cover that. I don't believe in Boruto. It doesn't exist. At least the beginning of it. The content that's coming out now is, a lot cooler, but still not gonna get into Boruto. That said, that's it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. This video actually ended up being a lot longer than I expected. Like 36 minutes of recording content. That's actually pretty insane. So if you guys went on to enjoy today's video, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to smash that like button to let me know that you guys want more, and also to encourage me to actually make more videos, because trust me, when I see when I see a lot of likes, I get very encouraged to make more videos like this. And because of the fact that the next couple of videos are going to be my hero based, you guys better hit this like button, because if not, I'm going to be more encouraged to make those and not this. So with all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let me know if you guys were here in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.